I have to say, I'm surprised the A's didn't sign Juan Soto.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Blue Sky, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return in FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets. If you win your first $5 bet, visit FanDuel.com to get started. Oh my, I already recorded a show on Sunday. And I thought, well, there you go. I got one in. I'll record one on Monday. I didn't think that I was going to be here just a couple hours later. In fact, I went to grab my son's dinner when I got word about the Hall of Fame vote. I thought, oh man, I should have waited to do that. Oh, well, I'll do it tomorrow. It's not like any big news is going to come about. And yet here we are. Um, Jeff Cohen, who's one of the biggest Met fans you'll know, he's in the live feed right now, and he's saying, let's go Mets. And who can blame him? Let's just talk about this. The big, huge story of the offseason has been answered. We are not going to have what happened a couple of years ago when Bryce Harper and Manny Machado were dying on the vine heading into spring training. Granted, the circumstances were different then. We weren't sure if there was going to be a collective bargaining lockout or whatnot. We know we are going to be a while before we have to collectively bargain again. And wow, the revenge of Scott Boras. Last year, Scott Boras did not have the best of winters. Well, guess who has one now? A 15-year, $765 million contract for Juan Soto. And Thomas Lanzetta says, Merry Christmas, Met fans. Christmas, you beautiful building and loan. And Steve Cohen is not like the owner of several teams, several owners out there who are billionaires and do not spend them. Gee whiz. I wonder who's coming to mind. Hey, Dawns, don't you own the Cleveland Guardians? Aren't you just one or two players away? Well, here we go. Menlo. It turns out that Juan Soto did like playing in New York. He just wants to stay with the Mets. Now, I had said this. I predicted he was going to sign with the New York Metropolitans. It made sense. The Mets came to my utter astonishment because I was urging them to rebuild last year when they had a losing record and were out of it. They got to within 2 wins of the World Series last year. They beat what on paper was the team I thought was the best team in baseball, which was the Philadelphia Phillies. And they gave the Mets a run for their money. They took them to 6 games. Not the Mets, Los Angeles. They took Los Angeles to 6 games and played them pretty well. I know I was there. I was there for the clinching at Dodger Stadium. The Mets are a good team with a franchise player in Francisco Lindor. And now they have 2 franchise players in Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto. Now, I mean, there are people who were saying things like, oh, wouldn't he want to just stay with the Yankees? Oh, doesn't he want to go? Would he go to the Dodgers? No, he doesn't want to play on the West Coast. Would he be able to share a locker room with Francisco Lindor? I have been saying all along, he will be a Met if the Mets want him. That's what the Mets have, the deep pockets and the reason to do it. Okay? They are in full 2004 Red Sox time that they have to win it now. I just watched the 2004 documentary on Netflix. And it was a great trip down memory lane for this native New Englander. But they're in full F this. We got to win now. We got to get all this off the we should get all this off the table. And we got to win right now. And if they wanted Soto, they would get Soto because they have the means to sign him. And it was never a mystery. He was going to sign with the highest bidder. If Toronto wanted him, find out what the Mets were getting and say, we'll give you more. If the Yankees want to retain him, find out what the Mets were offering, give him more. If the Red Sox, I actually never really thought the Red Sox were in on it. I thought they were kicking the tires. I think they did it to scare the bejesus out of the Yankees. But here we go. Soto is now going to be on the Mets. And this helps relieve the sting of losing Luis Severino. I think the Mets are going to be very good next year. I also think Philadelphia is going to be very good this year. I also think Los Angeles is going to be I think Los Angeles may actually be better next year because you're going to have Ohtani pitching and Yamamoto is going to be back. And Snell will be basically their number 2 or 3 starter. I actually think the defending champs are going to be better. I think there are a couple of super teams in the National League. There are no super teams in the American League. Zero, zilch, none, de rien. So we are going to see what's going to happen here. But there you go. You got an excellent player in Juan Soto. And you also have, and I was thinking about this, the Mets don't have a history of having a great Hall of Fame offensive player spending a decade or so on the team. Mike Piazza is as close as you're going to get, but David Wright has the most hits in the history of the Mets with 1,777. Darryl Strawberry has the most home runs in Mets history with 252. Think of that. If Juan Soto has 10 seasons of 25 home runs over this contract, he'll be knocking on the door to be the all-time home run leader in the history of the New York Metropolitans. The times on base, which I think is an underappreciated stat. David Wright leads Mets history in WAR for position player, offensive WAR, hits, runs scored, plate appearances, at bats, total bases, doubles, runs batted in, bases on balls, strikeouts, singles, runs created, adjusted batting runs, adjusted batting wins, extra base hits, times on base, and that's all David Wright. And I know he's currently Juan Soto has played in as many games for the New York Mets as I have, but in this 15 years, he's 26. He's 26. He has a chance to, if he plays at the level that he's played with Washington, with San Diego, and with his one season with the Yankees, he has a chance to eclipse many of the Mets' offensive career numbers. And he has nothing to prove as a player. He's been an MVP caliber player. He's played for small market teams and risen to the occasion. He's played for the Yankees. He's a World Series champion. He's a Silver Slugger. Twice he's been in the top 3 of the MVP. Yeah, inevitably he's going to win one. And he showed he could play on the big stage, hitting 3 home runs and his OPS in the ALCS was 1.373. In the World Series is 1.084. I mean, he's played on the biggest stage, hitting 3 home runs in the World Series for Washington back in 2019. And he's going to fit right into that. And Scott Boras ever said last year when they had the whole, no one was signing his players. Well, there you go. And if you're a Mets fan, you're buying your season tickets right now. And if you're Steve Cohen, you're showing, hey, I am doing what I'm doing. I am going to buy a championship. Okay. He could have signed, any team could have signed him. Any team could have signed him. And lo and behold, the Mets did. So Met fans, right now, this is a World Series champion or bust. And I've seen teams like that bust. So this is going to be fun. But now comes the aftermath. Now the biggest question of the offseason has been answered. And what the heck is going to happen on the other side of the city? You delivers better than Soto. I'll tell you what delivers better than Soto. Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. This year, skip the holiday hustle and the bustle and save 50% off site-wide during the cyber sale at omahasteaks.com. Plus, get a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with promo code MLB. With 5 generations of experience, Omaha Steaks consistently delivers the world's best steak experience, and their gifting extras make it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages starting at $89.99. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide during the cyber sale at omahasteaks.com. Doing it live, folks. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off, promo code MLB, and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code MLB. Minimum purchase applies. Move on. It's Omaha Steaks. Omaha should be a place the Rays should be thinking of if they have to be transplanted somewhere. Absolutely. Thomas Lanzetta says the Mets are not done. Why would they be? Why would they be? I'll be bringing bag lunches to Citi Field, says Jeff Cohen. And Dodgers versus Mets NLCS again next year. Hold your horses. I remember a couple of years ago, it was written in stone the NLCS was going to be Los Angeles, Atlanta. And of course, it turned out to be Philadelphia versus San Diego. And the next year was Philadelphia versus, as we all predicted, Arizona. Things happen. Things happen. Stacked teams. The Phillies put together a team in 2011 where they had Roy Halladay, Cliff Lee, Cole Hamels, Roy Oswalt. They had Rollins. They had Utley, and they had up and down that line. They were just absolutely just up and down Hall of Famers on that team, and they lost to St. Louis. Things happen. The great equalizer is the postseason. But now comes what is happening with the Yankees. Now they have a massive hole in their team. We saw in 2023, if you take away the protection for Judge, things can look ugly. Now, they could acquire Alex Bregman and move Jazz Chisholm somewhere else. They could trade for Cody Bellinger. These are all players who could be very, very good. None of them are Juan Soto. And the big bad Yankees are no longer the big bad Yankees when it comes to keeping their players around. And it's going to be interesting. And I'll tell you who a big winner in this offseason was the San Francisco Giants. Because Willie Adames, in many ways, was one of the most intriguing free agents out there. And he would have, not that he would have replaced Juan Soto, but he would have been an interesting figure to put in the Yankees infield. And you have Volpe in there. You can move Jazz Chisholm somewhere else. You have the Adames defense and his offense. He was one of the big free agent players currently on the board. He's taken off. He's gone. And in an odd way, because San Diego is still a very good baseball team. They're still a very good baseball team, and they're still a team that should be big-time contenders. And having the Johnny Britos and some of the other players, but especially Michael King on that team right now, is like, all right, we were going to lose Juan Soto anyway. So we got a bigger haul than we would have had if he went via free agency and was given a qualifying offer. You know what I feel badly for? I feel badly for the schmuck who the Yankees are going to use the qualifying offer draft pick on, because he's going to essentially be what they get for Soto and also for King and Drew Thorpe and Randy Vasquez and Johnny Brito and some of the other players that they traded off to get Juan Soto. It's fascinating, the whole someone outbidding the Yankees. At one point, that was an impossibility. That seemed like it was against the word of the Lord. But he's off cross town to the Mets. And the Yankees have a huge amount of picking up to do. By the way, Clay Holmes is there too. I bet if you're a Yankee fan, if you have a Holmes and a Soto jersey, wasn't Soto and Holmes were they both on the All-Star team this year? Now they're both in New York with the Mets. I hope he kept his apartment. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Yankees rebound, because yes, the Yankees got to the World Series last year, and there's no question they had a successful year last year. No getting around it. And it was a moment of when they won the pennant, partly on the home run, that Game 5 home run by Soto. When they won the pennant, it was a great redemption tour for Cashman and for Boone, for all the crap that they've been taking, including from yours truly. But now that victory lap is short-lived. The whole image of Cashman and Boone, and even the year that Soto was here, would have been different had two plays done slightly different. If Freddie Freeman had popped up, or if they brought Tim Hill in instead of Nestor Cortez, Freddie Freeman makes it out, and either Rizzo or Cole covers the bag. If those two events happen, the Yankees are up 3-2, going to LA with a decimated Los Angeles pitching staff. Hell, I'll give you even just one of those. They cover first. They have a 5-0 lead instead of that inning going 5-5. They go back to LA. LA's pitching is gassed. The Yankees probably force it to Game 7. If they win it, the aura of Boone, the aura of Cashman, even the aura of Soto leaving, it would be a cameo, but one that delivered a title. Instead, he's a one-time here and two Delu. He's a Jack Morris with the Twins, except at least Morris won. He's a one and out. Bye. Scram. Off to the Mets. So we're going to see. The Yankees can't sit back. And the big kahuna has been taken. And if they sign Burns or if they sign Fried to improve their starting pitching staff, those will be good, solid moves. But tell you what, it is going to be a big loss if they can't fill with another big star. Jeff Cohen asks, how does it affect Judge's numbers? Judge is going to have great numbers no matter what. He's not going to have the RBI that he had before, but Judge is going to put up great numbers, but you pitch around him. I'm not going to, you're going to have Giancarlo Stanton, become a huge big hitter, and someone else has to fill that void. And that's something they can't say, hey, we're going to try Jason Dominguez. No, you need a name there. And the biggest name, my friend, is off the board. Hey, let's hear from our good friends over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the National Football League all in one place. So if you got a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. And two other big pieces of news today. I'm going to go over this in more detail, but both of these made me very, very happy. But one gave me a little bit of frustration, I'll admit. Dick Allen and Dave Parker. Dave Parker right there on my wall there, standing next to Jim Rice. Now that picture is a picture of two Hall of Famers. The Cobra, one of the coolest players in the history of baseball, is now going to the Hall of Fame as elected by the Classic Era Baseball Committee, and I'm thrilled. The Cobra, they did everything. National League MVP, batting titles, Gold Gloves, Silver Sluggers. He had he was the designated hitter of the year. He had 339 home runs, uh, constantly in the batting race. Helped lead the Pirates to the World Series title in 1979. Was a big part of the A's championship in 1989. Had one of the great arms you'll ever see throwing from right field, and played with a great swagger and just bravado. He was one of the most fun players in baseball. He's one of the coolest players in baseball, and he's not doing well health wise. He's not doing well, and I think that I'm thrilled that we're gonna see him in the Hall of Fame, uh, while he's still with us. And Dave Jordan, who's been a guest on this show several times, I'm giving him a shout out because he wrote with Dave Parker the great book Cobra, which is about his life. And I'm glad that it has an epilogue, which is he's in the Hall of Fame, deservedly so. I don't understand why he wasn't voted by the writers, but he wasn't. But he's in now. And let me tell you something. Um, the his plaque will just be of a Hall of Famer. Yep. Now Dick Allen was someone whose greatness was obscured by the fact that he clashed with the media, so maybe that's why the writers didn't vote him in. And he was one of the statistically and through the analytics, he's one of the great offensive players of his era and put up phenomenal. The sabermetrics crowd really embraced him. His FanGraph OPS is 156, is the highest in Philadelphia Phillies history, ahead of Mike Schmidt, and it matched Willie Mays and Frank Thomas, tied for 14th place for people with 7,000 plate appearances. I'm getting this from Bill Ladson's wonderful article on MLB.com. It's the one thing I find very frustrating about this was a few years ago, he came within, I think it was one or two votes of a previous Veterans Committee Hall of Fame vote, and he came up shy. And now he got in. But he was alive when the vote came in before, and he died in 2020. So I'm thrilled for his family. I'm thrilled for his legacy. But why did we have to wait for him to die? This is like Ron Santo, who came up short with a veteran committee and then he gets in after he died. Why do we have to wait for them to die? Dick Allen, since the last veteran committee vote, and I'm going to look this up, I'm going to baseballreference.com, he has added 0 stats. He has played 0 major league games. So his stats are exactly the same as they were before. So we're going to have his family there. There won't be a dry eye in Cooperstown. It's going to be a wonderful celebration of a long overdue appreciation of a great superstar. But why did we have to wait until he died? I'm so happy that Dave Parker is going to be there. Heaven willing, nothing happens between now and July or August, whenever the celebration is going to be. Please make it, Cobra. Be there. And I love that he's going to be there. I love that We Are Family Pirates has yet another Hall of Famer on their team. And anything to celebrate these two terrific players, two of the coolest players who, by the way, not that I'm condoning this, but two of my favorite pictures of baseball players is one of Dick Allen juggling in the dugout while he was with the Chicago White Sox, cigarette in his mouth. That was the cover of Sports Illustrated. And there's a famous picture of Dave Parker smoking in the dugout. So these are Hall of Fame smokers. But congratulations, Dick Allen and Dave Parker. I thought that there would have been a few others who would have been able to make it in there. But you know, I really thought Tommy John was going to be in. I really thought that was going to be that he was going to be there. I got the sense that the late Luis Tiant was a long shot. Ken Boyer, Negro League legends John Donaldson and Vic Harris fell short, as did Senate hopeful Steve Garvey. But Tommy John belongs in my humble opinion. But I'm glad Dick Allen and Dave Parker both got in. So now comes the part of the offseason where the teams that kick the tires on Juan Soto better get to work. It looks like Blake Trinan is going to sign a long-term deal. The Dodgers signed Michael Conforto to a one-year deal. I don't know what that will mean for the return of Teoscar Hernandez. But Conforto, who was a Met for a long time, played 7 or 8 years with the Mets, played the last couple of years with San Francisco. Good, solid left-handed hitter. Not an all-star, but you may have found out there are a few all-stars on that Mets team. So there you go. Now, Ninja, I'm going to leave this by showing one more reader comment. Ninja Squirrel 30, that was my mother's maiden name, says the Mets run New York. Hall of Fame player read the room. New York aren't built for the World Series. 16 years counting. New York Yankees are a laughing stock. Let's pump the brakes a little bit, Ninja Squirrel. And this is coming from someone who grew up a classic Yankee hater. The Yankees still are the American League champions. And it has still been since 1986 since the Mets have won it all. So, again, I'm a classic Yankee hater, but let's pump the brakes about who runs New York. Okay? Win a title. Win a title since the Reagan administration before claiming ownership of the city. Well, unless the Red Sox announce they're moving to Nashville, I think I'm done recording podcasts for tonight. So follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And let me know how the new mic is working out. Is it working out? I can't hear it until I'm done. So talking about Juan Soto, the ownership of New York, and the Hall of Fame bids of Dick Allen and Dave Parker. And who knows, maybe Juan Soto will join them, but not yet. This has been Locked On MLB. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.